Okay, welcome everyone on our Wednesday evening stream. And today we have a proper discussion planned, which probably won't happen, but we're going to go for it. And it's going to be all about, is marijuana a gateway drug? And I gave it this name because, well, it made sense, but what I found myself is that nearly all arguments are pro hoc, ergo propter hoc, or this was first, therefore this is the reason. Anyway, take it away. Who's going to be first in our little pusher?
Carlos?
Well, I say no, it's not. Because then we can say that tobacco is also a gateway drug to the heavier drugs. It's not different from that. It intoxicates you a little bit more, as alcohol does. So why would it be a gateway drug to heavier ones? No. So my opinion is absolutely not. Someone?
Alright. Who here agrees with the gateway drug mentality, though?
Nope.
Okay,
I honestly think the whole gateway drug as a thing is quite fallacious, because you're not going to do anything ever that you don't want to do. I mean, I come from a family of alcoholics, and I barely ever drank, and now I've pretty much given it all up to begin, or ended up giving it all up anyway. If you're not going to do something, you're not going to do something. I've known plenty of people smoke pot, who have done cocaine, who have never even dreamed of doing crack, heroin, etc.
Well, I don't know. I kind of agree with the gateway drug mentality in some ways, and that's where my position comes into play, is it could be easily debunked, the idea of a gateway drug in the first place, but if you believe in gateway drugs, then how is marijuana not a gateway drug? And that's where I go with my argument.
Okay, so let's then start with the first question. What is a gateway drug?
A gateway drug would be something that you do for a sensation, and it leads you into doing something else for a larger sensation.
That makes sense.
So I start with an ice cream, but because of that I want an ice pie.
I have a how do I put this? I'm trying to put this as it is. The mentality of the gateway drug could have sprung up probably because of, I think, more Vietnam. I'll try and get this as reasonable as I can. During Vietnam, before that, even in the Korean War, doctors had the mass units. The doctors were injecting morphine, not just the doctors but the medics on the battlefield, and sometimes the soldier could get addicted, or frequently got addicted to the morphine, in the morphine that they were giving them. In Vietnam, there was a lot of pot use because heroin was produced in the Golden Triangle from Laos to Thailand, including Vietnam and that, and they would have maybe seen the media that they were smoking pot, and then they got onto heroin. They could have tried to link the two together. That's how probably I see it. It's not correct. I'm just putting it out there.
Well, that's one way to look at it. I fear that's not the case, though. And why do I fear that? Because before the problems in Vietnam, in America, marijuana was already illegal. They already had the gateway drug theory.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I thought it may have gone through. I'm not an expert on that aspect of drug use, basically, because the general theory could be, you can apply the same logic. Is beer or is very low alcohol drinks gateway drug to hard liquor? In some aspects it could be, but just
Yeah.
I don't know. That one I think would be the further stretch because,
yeah.
like, I don't believe that. Like I said, I think that's a far stretch to say, oh, well, this lower content, alcohol content beverage is going to lead to wanting a higher alcohol content.
Well,
Like,
in a way, that is part of the argument, though, isn't it?
well, no, it's not because, well, I guess you could say it is, but no. Alcohol is pretty much alcohol. It's kind of like smoking pot.
Yeah.
Marijuana is still marijuana. Now, if you want to get higher on pot, you just smoke more. If you want to get more drunk on alcohol, you just drink more. It's not transitioning to something else. Like, where this could say is if you believe in the gateway drug mentality, alcohol could be a gateway drug to marijuana. Marijuana could then lead to other drugs. And it doesn't, just because it may lead, doesn't mean that it automatically leads either. Like, I'll be honest, I've tried many drugs. They're just not for me. I didn't enjoy them. But I never would have tried cocaine if I'd never tried marijuana.
I'm not sure this is a good definition of what a gateway drug is, though. To me, a gateway is you do one thing and therefore you start doing another thing. Is that the case, though? I mean, is that the right definition for gateway?
Well, what you do see is in countries where it's more illegal to use drugs, that drug dealers usually have a whole range of drugs available, you know. So in that sense, I kind of see where it might be a gateway sort of a drug. But yeah, other than that, it's just, well, you're gonna use what you're gonna use, you know. You think, hey, this is interesting, so let me try this.
Well, I mean, there's some historical context here too, though. I don't know how many of you know this, but our word assassin, its root word is hash, based on the assassins from Syria during the Crusades. They were known to smoke a lot of hash and get high, and they were a quite successful, more or less, cult that carried out many assassinations and accomplished much. They never moved on to, like, basically becoming a drug cult. They pretty much just got high and went and did their minor political executions. Got within striking distance of Saladin, too.
Yeah, but they didn't have anything stronger in that time, though. You could say that hashish, which is pot, marijuana, they're all basically the same type drug. That was the strongest ones they had.
Well, I mean, you know, opium was still prevalent to that area, and they weren't, you know, and you didn't see, like, their base being turned into an opium den. I mean,
Opium? I don't know. Is anyone? I don't know. Was it really?
Yeah.
Was there opium in the let's say the Arab world?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah. Opium has been used since the days of the Romans and before, actually.
Yeah.
And Afghanistan has been a main distributing center in the Middle Ages.
That's interesting. Yeah, thanks.
Afghanistan, Pakistan. Well, it wasn't called Pakistan at the time, of course. India, they already were quite big on that.
Quite interesting. Thank you.
And I just, for shits and giggles, I looked up the dictionary definition of gateway drug. A drug such as alcohol or marijuana that is thought to lead to the use of more dangerous drugs, such as cocaine or heroin.
Okay. Should we
That's
go through the?
like that's just the dictionary definition. It's
Yeah.
but like I was saying, if you do believe in gateway drugs, I believe that marijuana, alcohol, even cigarettes are gateway drugs.
Yes.
Like, it's pretty easy to debunk it by saying, oh, well, I just don't believe in gateway drugs at all.
Well, apparently, people who are prone to do pot or something in that direction are also more prone to try out other drugs later down the line. But
Okay,
say that
so
it's really a gateway, I don't know.
yeah,
man.
but so for my slow mind, a gateway drug is something you use as a stepping stone to something bigger. Yes?
Yes.
So if 10 people use marijuana, and marijuana is indeed a gateway drug, how many people from that 10 people would then use a harder drugs?
Recreational use?
Well, fair enough.
Just out of my ass, I'd say probably 8.
So 10 marijuana users, 8 of them will go into harder drugs.
Yes, and I'm not saying they'll become drug addicts.
No, just using it. Just
Yes.
okay.
I'd
Well-
say about 3.
You'd say about 3, but is it then?
Yeah.
If it's only 3, is it then a stepping stone?
To those 3, yes. It's
But-
but statistically, it's still, if it's 3 out of 10, it's statistically, it's a minority still.
Yeah. So then you can't say it's a stepping stone.
Nope.
Can you? I mean, can you seriously say, well, 3 in 10 use this drug and therefore start using that drug? Can you then still claim it's a stepping stone?
Well, we got 5 people in this room, right?
Yeah.
Is anybody in this room a little bit uneasy about talking about drug use in your personal life?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Smoked
No
pot
problem.
at university.
Has anyone here not smoked pot?
I have.
You've not smoked pot?
No, I have smoked pot.
Okay. So we've all had pot at one point at a time.
All right, and how many of us have used any other drugs, such as cocaine, mushrooms, acid,
Here.
ecstasy?
Me, absolutely
As-
not.
Me.
Okay. So 1 in all of us, 5. 1 in 5. By the way, warped reflection.
Actually, I had done some cocaine during my college days, but probably like maybe 5 to 10 times, and I never paid for it. So
Actually, I'm going to respond to what Warped Reflection said in a chat. Majority of people I know smoke weed, but give up alcohol and don't take any other drugs. Does that then subscribe to the notion of gateway drug? But okay, so there are in our small group there are 2 people who have tried something harder than marijuana.
Oh, I have too.
So that's 3. How many of you are still using marijuana?
Nope.
You're not?
nope, gave it up.
None of you?
Give it up 6 years ago or
did that
something?
university.
Okay, so how many of you are still using hard drugs?
Me.
No.
What are you
Every once in a
using?
while.
Once in a blue moon.
No, but what are you using then, Mark?
Me, last weekend I had APK or something, some form of herbal ecstasy. Well,
Okay.
quote-unquote herbal ecstasy.
Okay, so out of the 5 people here, only one of us is still using something stronger.
Well, I'll do it occasionally, but not.
What do you do occasionally?
So 2 out of 5.
I'll do some mushrooms occasionally. I'll do some cocaine occasionally.
Okay, so 2 out of 5. Is that sufficient to call marijuana the cause of that?
Statistically, probably not.
Okay, so then in our small group we can already say marijuana is not a gateway drug. Considering the small sample of people we have here, which is only 5, I know, that's not a lot of people.
No, it's not. Like, it's not enough to get... I was expecting more people to have experimented with other drugs than 2.
Okay, so I looked up some numbers, and I know I didn't want to start with the numbers, but I'm going to start with them now. Unfortunately, these numbers are percentages. And a percentage is, well, it's a broad number, but it's not a clear number. For example, if 100% of the Netherlands would smoke pot and only 50% of America would smoke pot, then there are more pot smokers in America than in the Netherlands. Percentage-wise, the Netherlands would score higher, but in raw numbers, America would score higher. Keep that in mind, please. But I am going to start with the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands, cannabis is, well, it's not legal, but it's tolerated. So you can buy it in coffee shops and you can smoke. Roughly 20% of the Netherlands has used marijuana very regular in the last months. That's 1 in 5.
Wow.
Now, considering the gateway theory, percentage-wise, if 20% of the Netherlands would use marijuana, percentage-wise, how many percent would you see in cocaine use? Or would you expect?
5.
You would
I'd
expect.
go a little bit higher.
I don't know.
Okay, if we have 5%, we have someone saying higher than 5%. Anyone care to gamble?
I'd go for the 5% as well.
You go for the 5% as well.
Yeah.
What if I would, and I'm not going to give the answer right away because, hey, I'm stretching out the stream, fair is fair. What would you say if I'd say it's lower than 5%?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
How much?
Lower than 5%.
Wow.
What would you say if I say it's less than half of 5%?
Wow.
Still not very surprised.
It
I know it's a
doesn't.
small figure. I said 5% because it's a round number. I don't have the stats and anything. You have them, of course. So
Yeah, I'm a bastard like that. Sorry.
Oh, exactly. But I know how conflated. I'm reading here an article that what's his name? Feminism Cancer is Cancer sent to me in New Zealand things, and that's exactly what they're talking about. I put one link in our chat, private chat. I can put all of them if you want that he sent to me. They're quite interesting.
What's this about then?
Is marijuana a gateway drug?
Okay,
Let's see.
I'm going to this
I put
one.
That's the one I had open. Let's see.
Can't you put it in your screen
No, I
yourself?
can't. I can't.
I can. Just hold on.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
please do.
post them all if I get the right ones here. Drug Foundation.
I'm doing that. Oh, you'll see.
Yeah, I'll put them all here, and then you guys can share them on up to. Is there? Oh, that's the same one that I put.
Because I've been looking into the for the stream. Obviously, I've been looking forward to it, and I've been looking into a lot of information. And there you go. There's come on. That's the wrong channel now. Wait a second. Idiot me. There you go. You are now main screen.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'll just read this out. The gateway theory. Some argue cannabis is a gateway drug. That its use causes people to also try more dangerous drugs. This argument is often used to justify ongoing criminalization of cannabis. Others say there is no evidence that cannabis causes harder drug use. They argue that cannabis is the first drug used by people with a predisposition to drug use simply because it is the most widely available. In countries where cannabis is not readily available, other drugs fill the role of gateway drug. Another argument against is that not all cannabis users go on to other drugs.
Yeah, well, that's my main argument when we conflate cannabis as a gateway drug. Because if it were a gateway drug, then you would assume that there would be a rather extensive group going from drug A to drug B, from cannabis to hard drugs. But this is not what we see. And of course I started with the numbers in the Netherlands because the Netherlands was one of the first countries that tolerated drug use. But it always was quite strong on hard drugs. Now if I look at the numbers, for example, Colombia, even in Colombia, only 4% of the people are using cocaine. Same as in Mexico. Now, would you expect the numbers of cannabis use to be higher in Colombia and Mexico, or would you expect them to be lower than, for example, in the Netherlands? I mean, the cocaine number is higher.
I'd also state probably higher.
You think Colombia and Mexico would have higher cannabis numbers?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
They're not even half of what the cannabis numbers in the Netherlands are.
What, really?
Colombia is about 11% and Mexico has about 8% of cannabis use.
Wow.
I sort of know why.
Well, does that normalize for tourism?
I'm not sure. I assume not, to be honest. I'm not sure.
I
Actually,
think I know why, though.
I have an idea about it too, but I'm curious as yours. Please.
The main drug, quote unquote, that the Mexicans used up until about the 60s was not marijuana or not anything. It was mezcal.
Yeah, which, funny
Right.
enough, isn't within these statistics.
Exactly, because it makes tequila.
Yep.
Yes.
But
Okay.
even then,
And
because
yes, they would get piss drunk. So what did the Mexican governments of the 60s do? They came to Germany. They hired their best beer makers, and they shipped them over to there to make a lighter beer to substitute the mezcal and the tequila drinking. And it's been a success. In fact, Mexican beer is quite very, very good.
they do have
San
some
Miguel.
great beers,
Yeah,
definitely.
San Miguel. Corona's all right.
Nice and
San
cold.
Miguel yeah, exactly. So that's an actual fact that I've read when I was studying, when I was at school. So I know that as a fact that they did that to lower the inebriation of the population, and to an
Well,
extent that would mean that they would have less inclination to take on other type of drugs.
but the funny thing is, if you look at alcohol use in Mexico, and unfortunately it's not specified, so beer or stronger alcohols, but alcohol use in Mexico is at about, let's say, 86%. In the Netherlands, it's at 93%. So alcohol use in the Netherlands is more prevalent than in Mexico. It doesn't say about how much alcohol you use. So it could be just one beer a week or maybe one beer a night. I don't know. They don't say that.
Exactly.
So that's basically useless information then. But on average, people in the Netherlands drink more alcohol than they do in Mexico. Not the case for Colombia, but it is the case for Mexico. What I find funny though is if I look at the stats, in most countries, cocaine use hangs around 4% if it's on the high, and below below 2% for basically most other countries, except for one. There's one country that scores pretty high in cocaine use. Anyone care to gamble?
No.
I'm sorry. I cut out for a second. What did you say?
Cocaine use in most countries is pretty low. I mean, there are a few countries that score around 4.5% or 4%. Most countries score below 2%. There's only one country that scores pretty high. We're talking about roughly 16%.
It's America.
Which is correct. Now, if the
Yeah.
gateway theory were true, then how high would you think the cannabis use in America would be?
I'm going to assume that the cannabis use in America hovers somewhere around 25 to 30%.
Okay, not too high. So basically, 1 in 2 cannabis smokers will go into cocaine. That's what you assume, yeah?
Go into as in use regularly, or go into as try?
Go into use regularly.
Oh no, I dropped that to like probably 1 in 5 at most.
But that would mean that 80% of America is smoking cannabis.
Okay.
The cannabis
I
use.
think my connection is dropped. I must have gotten turned around somewhere.
Yeah, same here. Cause
Yeah.
Okay.
something of that seemed like it was missing a step in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so we know 16% of cocaine use in America is the percentage we are working with. Now, considering 1 in 3 people might go from marijuana, or at least that's what we assume, 1 in 3, to go to, no, not 1 in 3, sorry. In our group, it's 2 in 5. But how much would you expect in America cannabis to be used at? And I forgot the number you gave me.
Here it said,
I was thinking 30 or 25 to 30% cannabis use.
Yeah. So that would say that for every for every 2 cannabis user, 1 would upgrade to cocaine. So it's 1 in 2.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm with you. I was going with yeah. My mistake. Yeah. All right. Okay.
So in the US, we see that 42% of the people are using cannabis. This is more than twice as much on the cocaine percentage. It's almost 3 times as much. If this is the case, how fair is it to say marijuana is the leading cause for cocaine use?
I wouldn't say that it's the leading cause, though, because there's to say causation, that's to blame drug use on one cause is something completely. I want to see how to prove that.
Yeah.
Fair enough, but isn't
More
that
about environment than about the drugs themselves.
But isn't that the whole concept of the gateway theory?
Yeah.
So either cocaine use is based on marijuana use, or they are causational linked with each other, or they're not. If they're not, then they're not a gateway drug.
I'm thinking of an anecdotal example again. This is, but it's based. She did say that it happened. Drew Barrymore, when after she made E.T., she began partying alcohol, which alcohol then led to her heavier drug use, cocaine and stuff. And she admitted in a whatever interviews and that she went into rehab for alcohol and cocaine and other hard drug use. She never mentioned that she started on, for example, pot, marijuana, cannabis, whatever you want to call it. So that's sort of debunks that marijuana being a gateway drug. It could be for some people, but for others it could be alcohol. Others could be straight on the heavy drugs.
Olenska in the chat is saying that marijuana would be illegal, and because it's illegal, it would be close in proximity to harder drugs. That this could be the gateway idea. So is it a question of availability then?
Could
You
be.
know what? You know what? That's actually a very good point because thinking back, I may never have tried cocaine if I wasn't hanging out with people smoking pot that also had access to cocaine. So that is a very valid point.
Mm-hmm.
This is also what I seem to think to see when I look at, for example, the cocaine numbers from Colombia and Mexico. I mean, in Colombia, I assumed numbers would be higher on cocaine use because it is easier to obtain. But then again, I mean, it doesn't make sense considering that America scores that high because they are in everything scoring amazingly high. In marijuana cannabis use, they are the second highest in the world. The only one higher than that is New Zealand. Well, actually, no, they are the highest, but they are close together. But the thing is, New Zealand's cocaine use is almost equal to Mexico or Colombia. So how come America's cocaine use is so much higher than Mexico and Colombia?
I think that's pure proximity. I mean, the that road that goes from Colombia through Venezuela all the way up into Honduras, Mexico, into the U.S. I think it's solely proximity.
Well, the other point that I was going to bring on is how many people, we all probably know somebody that has done hard drugs, right?
Hmm.
Like, this is an assumption. How many of those people started with the hard drugs? How many of them were like, oh, fuck marijuana, I'm just going to start snorting coke?
Depends on how they would be introduced. You know that. How to drug use. If dealers only could get their hands on, say, marijuana, they would try to push or influence people, kids and stuff to go through that. If they have other type of drugs, that's how they would start. How was crack cocaine introduced into the general public in the United States? I don't think it was from, here, have a joint, now try this stuff, for example.
Now, crack cocaine is kind of interesting that you bring it up. Crack
Yeah.
cocaine was brought into the poorer parts of America, so to get
Yeah.
people that are addicted to harder drugs a cheaper way of getting their fix.
Yeah. But what they would need, the newer users, that children and that, or not, I wouldn't say children, but the newer, as the regulars, they wouldn't expand. You want to expand, you have to get new people in. How would they introduce that to the new people, quote unquote? They wouldn't start off them. Here, try marijuana. Now try this. No, they would just say, try this stuff. It gets you pumping. And I'm being an idiot here.
No, I think you're
No,
right.
You know what I mean? I'm not. Yeah.
I don't think they would push
You sell
marijuana
drugs
on
like
you.
an after-school special dealer. Hey, man, I got this stuff. It's gonna make you feel great. Sorry, I just had to. I just had to crack a joke.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was trying to make my point as well, as being a slightly, on a serious note, slightly humorous, because depressive stuff, you need a bit of humor into it as well, so it wouldn't be too depressing. Yeah.
Well, it's difficult though. Height difference is asking, considering the money being made with drugs and how it funds criminality, why not make soft drugs, marijuana, legal in all of America? Makes sense. I agree with you. You can tax it, make it cleaner and safer. All these things, I agree with you. But then, are we not forgetting why it became illegal in America?
And in most
Well,
by proxy.
well, I mean, that's a very more nuanced issue than just how did it become illegal. There was, of course, the temperance movement that was getting alcohol and other drugs made illegal. There was the fear of immigration and how the Mexicans were coming here smoking all the pot and tricking our gerbs, and There's even some of your more conspiracy theorists like to go into William Randolph Hearst and his paper conspiracy. But what were you going to go with, Modway?
Well, I know that the how do I call it? The legalization or the illegalization of marijuana has indeed to do with immigrants coming into America. For example, Mexicans already had quite a culture of pot smoking. Black people came with that too. We saw in America they saw marijuana also rise with certain musical influences, and I think that this how do you call it? When they dried up America, can't remember the name now.
Prohibition.
Prohibition. Thank you. Part of the prohibition also meant that a lot of people went from alcohol to marijuana, which kind of countered the effect of prohibition.
Don't forget about hemp, though.
Well, hemp is just rope.
Yeah, but it's a very, very cheap resource, and other companies would like lose a fuckload of money, and
Yeah.
that's one reason I heard anyway that by proxy became illegal.
The industrial version of the cannabis. The industrial version of the cannabis plant is actually fully legal. You can grow and cultivate it as much as you like because there is no intoxicating effects found on it.
No,
not in the States you can.
Yeah, you can. In America too. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, it's the industrial form. I think it's the
milk
cannabis
plant,
indica.
No?
It's the indica breed that is.
In the industrial side, it has no THC in it.
No,
and
indeed.
THC is what.
Yeah.
So that's still legal, and you can still make hemp from it. They actually still do make hemp from it. So that's. But I do have the feeling that Anslinger, I think someone else mentioned him a moment ago, also started recognizing certain effects they could try to have, and he needed more to just combat alcohol, opiates like opiates and cocaine. He needed more to make his agency feel there's a reason for it to exist. So they just started adding things onto the Bureau of Narcotics, and one of these things was cannabis. I mean, if you look at all the things that are prohibited, if you look at all of them but not look at marijuana, you will find that all of them have severe health issues combined with them. Unfortunately, or weirdly, marijuana has some health issues with them, but they are not nearly the same. But marijuana use was, especially in the early days, mostly something from the non-white population. So maybe that was one of the reasons to, what do I say, stop them from allowing it, making it illegal.
Up until the early 20th century, opiates was actually administered so commonly you could buy it almost like sweets in pharmacies.
Yeah.
Coca Cola.
Yeah, Coca Cola. Well, Coca Cola was coca extract. It did have a slight ting to it. Yeah. Basically that zing. It wasn't, but it was so low level that you'd need to drink a hell of a lot of it to actually do something. So yeah.
Yeah. Although going back into the gateway drug thing, the indigenous people of Peru and parts of Colombia have been chewing the coca leaf as sort of like how we use coffee. I mean, they'd wake up and chew some coca leaves and get that nice kick, and they never even thought about turning it into some serious, insane form of drug or anything. That didn't happen until the Spaniards came. Well, long after the Spaniards came, but you get my idea.
Yeah, there's still a lot of people who trek through the Andes that use coca or who chew coca leaves for altitude sickness.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bolivia legalized it. Absolutely encourages then people to grow and chew on coca leaves.
Yeah, that is true. This is kind of similar to what Somalis do with cod.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
Which
What's that
is
other
funny
one?
enough. If we look in the Netherlands, cod has been made illegal for the same reason marijuana has been made illegal in most countries, because a certain group of people are happy on using it.
Mm.
Hmm.
What's that other one? In Africa, they also have another one which they mix with lime. Shit, betel nuts, I think it is, or something.
I wouldn't know.
They have some. I think it could be even cod, but with another name. But in the Horn of Africa, that they chew these leaves. Is that cod mixed with
Yeah, that's
lime?
cod. That's cod.
Yeah, that turns their teeth black, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cod.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Okay.
There is that. So illegality doesn't have to make sense, but if you would make something illegal, then you have to have a reason. And it seems to me, if on all the research papers I've read, that marijuana in the US, mostly in the US, but also in certain other countries where it's made illegal, is made illegal because of the gateway effect it's supposed to have. But there is maybe correlation, but you cannot find causation anywhere. So,
Oh.
knowing this, is it then still fair to say marijuana is a gateway drug?
The studies which I posted in our private chat and that feminism is key posted to me, they are studies that try to prove well those studies you can do anything, you can prove anything in studies if
Yeah.
you want to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
I read a Yale study. I'll see if I can find it again, but I dismissed it because basically it starts by saying that marijuana and cocaine use can only really be seen in correlation of each other, and then still they try to prove causation, even though they themselves said correlation, not causation.
Exactly. Yeah. So
That's just stupid, and that's Yale, for fuck's sake.
studies, you can prove anything in studies and surveys and that. I take surveys with a pinch of salt because you can do anything you want. You have an outcome and you prove it with your study.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's the thing that we've seen with the in social studies and gender studies, and we've seen an increase in biased studies, especially in the social sciences, which is Tilde made a movie about it not too long ago, which is really scary because now we have an outcome which we preset, and we make a study to prove that outcome.
Hmm.
And then that study can't be repeated because you can't base studies on, okay, this is what I want to reach, how can I reach it? And this is the path I've taken to reach this outcome. Now, if you take this path, you will not reach this outcome because it's a moment. It's momentarily. It's like a picture of a racetrack. If you take a picture now, you have this car. If you take a picture a second later, that car is gone.
Mhm.
Shouldn't studies be repeatable by members of your peers?
Yes, they should.
Yes, they should, but they're
For it
not.
to be a good study, anyway.
Yeah, but
They
that's the
can't.
problem. That's the problem with gender studies and certain sociological studies and certain psychological studies. They cannot be replicated, which in itself would mean then, okay, this is crap, but somehow people still put merit in it.
Hmm.
Because it fits with already preconceived narratives. If just for instance, if a study found that one person only used 10% of their brain, that would have gone through all the channels, 20 years ago when people still believed that only 10% of the brain was used.
Yeah, Can you imagine it?
I
Trust me,
believe
though.
I believe that feminists only have 10% of a normal brain.
Well, there is that. But the thing is, though, the 10% thing, people believed it. Everyone except the people who actually researched this bullshit.
Mm.
Talk to a neuroscientist, a neuropsychologist. They would tell you 10% of the brain. Yeah, when you're sleeping, you use more than 10% of your brain. So,
Well, you see,
Yeah.
my solution to that is when I still hear the 10% thing in this day and age, I say, well, you probably use 10% of your brain.
But
yeah,
then again, with all the studies being done on other kinds of drugs, it does seem like a whole bunch of Schedule 1 drugs should be placed to Schedule 2 because a lot of them do really have medicinal value too.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like pot could
Uh,
be Schedule 2, I think. I can't remember how, but it's not Schedule 1.
No, Schedule 1 is the serious one.
Yeah. Like
marijuana,
shrooms
coke, meth,
have good results in.
amphetamines.
Yeah.
Well, like, I can definitely tell you that pot does have some psychologically affecting
Oh yeah, definitely.
uses because I have a seriously obsessive personality, and I quit smoking pot because it made it impossible to work, and no drug has since been able to keep my mind or quote unquote normal, except for weed. And I do kind of miss that aspect of it, but then again, I like having a job that pays the bills, so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that is. And there are definitely health risks when it comes to pot smoking. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a risk-free drug because it's not.
Nope.
But the risks
Oh
coming
no.
with marijuana are in no way close to the risks coming with, for example, tobacco or alcohol.
Oh yeah. The human lung was not designed to breathe smoke, regardless of what kind of smoke it is.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But the human mind has even before we were humans, it sort of is predispositioned. Shit, I'm just beginning to be drunk. It's predisposed to stimulants,
Yep.
artificial stimulants. You can see primates going after shit, even getting drunk on some fruits, and that they actually actively seek them, and not just primates, many other animals. So I think animals are predisposed to search for artificial stimulants of those sorts, and human culture tries to stop it, and that's where probably the problems come from.
Well, this Dr. Carl Hart dude, he did he did studies with rats. Like they had this experiment where they had a little lever and intravenous cocaine used into the rats, and they would be just keep pressing the lever until they died, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because of the whole reward circuitry. But then you also saw that when you put like food or an attractive mate for a rat, I guess, into their cage, they would not always press that lever.
No.
Which was pretty interesting.
Which is,
That's also what he saw when he did the experiment with humans as well. Like 50% would just go for the money instead of the cocaine.
Exactly.
which is in a way it's a problem, but yeah, there you have it.
Yeah, I just
Okay,
think
guys,
it's
I think I have to go, guys. It was awesome to talk to you. Just one thing, then you guys can talk about it. Portugal decriminalized that they made it not a crime for drug use, any drug. And 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, and we've seen the drop in drug use. crime related to drug use and other petty things, but it's still illegal to possess it more than certain grams or a certain amount, and to sell it, of course. So that's yeah.
Yep.
And it's been quite statistically a success because they don't send the drug users to jail, they send them to therapy, and it saved a hell of a lot of money.
Yeah,
Freed up the prisons for other crimes which are more serious crimes.
This is what we saw in the Netherlands too. Stop criminalizing behavior that should easily be handled under medical approaches. And you see a steep drop in drugs use. I mean, as I said, if you look in the Netherlands, we are close to 20% on marijuana use, but only on 2% on cocaine. I don't even have the numbers of Portugal, unfortunately. And the Netherlands
I had them somewhere. Wait, let's see if I have them, but I might not have them here. Shit.
That's okay. I mean, I'm not sure how different it would be than Spain, for example. In Spain, you have like 16% on marijuana use, but still 4% on cocaine use.
Yeah.
But you know, the culture itself has something to do with it too. Because if you look at a country like Ukraine is not far away from us. Their cocaine use is less than 1%. It's almost less than a measurable 0.1%. Their cannabis use is lower than 7%.
Yeah.
But their alcohol use is close to 97%.
Yeah.
But then the culture is more alcohol based as well.
Oh, some people dropped out.
Yeah.
Okay,
again,
guys. Thank you for having me on. I'll be going now. Thank you, Modwayne.
Yeah, thanks for coming, mate. As always.
Yep. And see you, Marty. See you, Mark. And thank you, guys.
Always a pleasure, man.
Unfortunately, Fuddernuteh has also dropped out, so it's
yeah.
just the three of us.
Come back.
Well, I'm not
See you
sure.
guys.
Yeah.
See you later, mate.
Look, they predict no rain for today.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm not thinking Fuddernuteh is coming back, considering he said he's not coming back. I'm not sure if there's anything to add to what we've said already, to be honest.
Probably not. Or not really, unless we want to talk about drug use.
I see in the chat we're talking about drug use with children or adolescents, and how that might be negative towards the development of their brain, which in all fairness is perfectly right. I mean, the same is true for alcohol. I mean, alcohol being a problem too. But yeah, drug use, if you're not outgrown, if your brain hasn't outgrown itself, has of course a negative influence.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems that we've kind of gone through it all. So, are we still thinking that marijuana then is a gateway drug?
Nah, I've only ever seen it as a gateway drug if a person already has that addictive personality, if they're already ready to move on to other things, regardless of the pot or not.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I think it couldn't be said that if what this dude said earlier, like if I'd never smoked pot, then maybe I hadn't hung out with the people that I hung out with, and therefore later on tried a bunch of hallucinogenics and stuff like that. But on the other hand, who the hell knows?
Well, I mean, I believe that people have a genetical inclination to be addicted.
Oh yeah.
Whether that is to pot or alcohol or whatever.
Oh, don't I know that?
But yeah, I don't believe in the gateway construct. because the numbers don't follow up the idea. I think the idea is specially planted for people to say it's bad, therefore look at this. But yeah, we're repeating now certain points already mentioned. So,
Yep.
anyone got something interesting to say?
I know. Give all these social justice warriors a pretty high dose of shrooms and see what happens when they come out of it.
That's interesting. I'm not quite sure if it will help anyone.
Or like
but-
a big DMT trip or something like that.
And you, Martius?
No, I'm typically the facts guy. I don't usually have interesting things to say, just interesting things to add.
Well, how did you think I was on my number thingy? I think
It seemed legit. I mean, my connection isn't that great, so you were kind of cutting in and out, and I got a little turned around, but it seemed legit.
Okay. Well, I think then that we can say that we don't really think that marijuana. I mean, no one's going to take our points from it, but I think we can agree that we don't believe that marijuana then is a gateway drug.
Yeah, I'd agree to that.
Same here. I mean, I smoked pot for years, and I only tried cocaine a couple of times. I never did anything serious, and I'm not addicted to anything. Well, all right, coffee and cigarettes, but that happened before the pot.
Which both are hard drugs as well.
Yep.
Well, in that case, I'm thinking about maybe calling it a night. I mean, it's early. I mean, we've only talked for about an hour. Fair is fair. But it seems that we've said all we want to say. And I kind of did want to keep it a one-topic chat this time.
Alrighty then.
So, any last words, Mark?
Well, I just said it, really. Yeah.
Okay.
Get all these SJWs tripping, and maybe they'll change their mind a little.
Okay. Well, Martius, any last words for tonight?
Yes.
Sorry for this.
Yes. Black lives do matter, but Black Lives Matter does not matter.
Yeah, I'm trying to on every movie I make now. I start the hashtag full of shit instead of BLM. Oh yeah, FOS. Because the whole talk about Black Lives Matter is being I don't know. It seems wrong because yes, Black lives do matter, but funny enough, they don't matter to Black Lives Matter. So that kind of makes their movements hashtag full of shit, to me anyway. But now we're going into a different subject. We can do Black Lives Matter next week again because it is funny. They are trying to get a foothold in Europe, and they are actually getting a small foothold in Europe. This is maybe something we can do next week. It's kind of funny. What's also funny is the incredible drop in support Black Lives Matter is getting in America.
Well, it's actually gotten a lot. It's lost a lot of steam since that whole Milwaukee thing started because everybody knows that it was a black cop that shot a black kid in a black neighborhood, and yet Black Lives Matter still forced a riot. So I think people are starting to see that this isn't exactly the religion of peace they've claimed it to be.
Well, it is still cops against blacks, I guess.
Yeah, but now it's not a white cop, and they
I know, but it's still a cop.
Yeah, that is true.
But
it's double though.
Well, yeah, but if you look at the videos, it was the chance of kill white people, of beat these white people, of the entire thing was highly racially charged. I was watching live tweeting of the night it all started, and it was all fuck white people, all this white shit, and I'm sitting there going, you guys don't even know what happened, and you're rioting.
Yeah. Yeah. But let's keep Black Lives Matter for next week then.
Yep.
And thank you all for watching. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for taking chatting along with us. And next week around this time, let's do Black Lives Matter. That could be fun. No
Sounds
one's
like
ever
fun.
touched them. Anyway, thank you all for coming and have a great evening.
You too.